Hey, this is Tim. I'm having a problem with the brakes in my van. It's a 2001 Toyota Sienna, and the passenger side front brake pads are grinding. So the pads have been ground down to the metal, and I need to replace them. So today, I'm going to replace the brake pads on my van. So one of the first things I want to do is get the jack set up so we can lift the car, but we're not going to lift the car all the way. Right now, just getting it positioned is important. There's a little bitty notch underneath the car, which is where the jack actually slides into. I'm going to go set the emergency brake just to make sure that the car doesn't move. Next, we need to take the nuts off of this wheel. So, we're going to loosen them down here. Just loosen them while the car is down. That way I'm not putting a bunch of pressure on it to move it, and loosen these while it's up in the air. Now we'll jack it up. Good. Once we get this tire off, we're going to slide the tire out of the way by putting it underneath the car over here by the jack. That way, just in case something happens and the jack falls, the car gets bumped or something like that, it won't fall to the ground and hit the underside of the car. It'll actually just rest on the wheel. Go. This part right here is called the rotor, and it's actually hot right now. I just touched it. The rotor is the part that moves with the transmission, moves around and around. It's connected to the wheels by these. The caliper, the thing that we're going to switch out, is over here. It's actually the brake pad. So underneath the caliper is the brake pad. So the caliper is just like a bicycle brakes. When you pull the lever on a bicycle brake, the thing squeezes like this. We need to replace the pads. The pads go on the inside of my fingers and squeeze this rotor every time it moves. One of the things we can see here is that it's not smooth. In the middle here it's smooth, but as we move out to the edge, it's actually scored. This is called scoring. This is because part of the metal on the brake pad, under there, the brake pad metal has actually been rubbing against the rotor and scoring it. A little scoring isn't too bad. On the back side of the caliper are a couple of bolts, one at the top and one at the bottom. These two bolts are what hold the caliper together in place with relation to the rotor and the undercarriage here for the steering. So we need to take these two bolts off, but the caliper actually has a tube. The tube is where your brake fluid is. So from this tube, liquid brake fluid comes in. You use liquids so that when you press on the brakes, the pressure goes in all four directions to all four tires equally. So we got to make sure that we don't mess up this brake line right here. You could let air into it, or you could actually let it fall and crack the line. This car is almost 10 years old, so I don't want to goof it up, so I got to take really good care of it. Some of the tools we're going to use. I have a gigantic C-clamp. This is a 6-inch C-clamp. Just got from Pet Boys. We're going to use this C-clamp in order to push the piston back on the caliper. Another thing that I have is called a dog bone, and the dog bone is brand new. And the last thing that I have is my brake pads themselves. These brake pads were about $22, and there are 4 of them. Take them out and show them to you. They are exactly the same shape, so it doesn't matter which side you put them on, but there are 4 of them. So these 2 I'm going to use on the other side of the vehicle. These 2, however, you can see that they're curved. You can see that both of them are curved equally. And they're metal on the outside and a metal solid on the inside. Actually looks kind of like copper. I don't know. They're metallic brake pads. So these brake pads are going to go, one of them is going to go in here and the other one is going to go on the inside of there. And that's what gets squished together when you press on the brake pedal. It pushes the liquid pushes the piston on the inside of this. The piston pushes the brake pads together, which causes it to squeeze against this, and this is attached to your tire. So here we are. Let's see if I can push this down. There it goes. Almost got that one. Go. So a bolt comes out, and then on the bottom another bolt will come out. They look exactly the same. And we should be able to slide this caliper off. So when you look at the caliper, this is called the piston. This circular part right here is called the piston. Remember, you press on the brakes go through this valve that sends the liquid in 4 different directions equally. One of those tubes is right here. The liquid comes through the tube, presses against the inside of this device, and it pushes this cylinder right here, pushes it out, which causes it to grip as you push. So we need to take this cylinder and we need to push it back. It's called a piston. So we need to push this piston back. And the way to do it is with a C-clamp, like this. Very gently, we're going to put this C-clamp like this. And we're going to slowly put pressure on it. This happens naturally when you're driving. You step on the brakes and the piston goes out a little bit, and then when you let off the brakes, the piston comes back up. So while we're doing this, we're pushing the liquid back out of this piston chamber, back into the reservoir. Sometimes if you look in your engine compartment, you can actually see a cup that says high or low. That cup is what actually tells you if you're low on brake fluid. Be patient, go slow. Only one time have I ever tried to go too fast, and I ended up pushing it in crooked because it was out so far, and then I had a problem getting it back in because there's an O-ring that keeps the pressure and the liquid on the inside. So you just want to do it nice and soft. If it feels like it's not going back in, maybe you have a problem of some sort. If we looked on the inside of the engine compartment while we're doing this, we could actually see the liquid flowing back into the brake fluid reservoir in the engine compartment. So again, we're pushing this piston back so that we can put in new brake pads and then put the caliper back on, and then we can stop without that grinding sound. Almost to the bottom. That's it.